Hey guys, this is Lee here, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to make your sunfish better for free, meaning no cost to you. All I ask you to do is smash that like button, share the video with someone who might be interested in it, and also subscribe to the channel. And I'm going to tell you free ways to make your sunfish sailing a lot more fun and better. The first way to improve your boat is to just make it lighter. Now, the easiest way to make it lighter is to take all the junk out of the cockpit, or really get rid of the water. So open up that drain plug on the side and tilt the boat on its side and drain out all the water. All boats leak, whether it's a Scot, a catamaran, or even a big yacht. They all get water in them eventually. So getting the water out makes the boat a lot more peppy. If you have water in your cockpit and you're sailing around and you have an inch or two of water covering your feet, that's not pleasant, and it also makes the boat heavier and non-responsive. Take a sponge, like a big car wash sponge, and just squeeze the water out of the boat, and that makes it a lot easier to handle. You could take a medium-sized plastic jug, you cut it out, and you leave the handle in there with the cap, and you use that as a scoop, and that could take the water out, and that's all at no charge. Now, if you drain a lot of water out of your hull, and if the water's been sitting there for a while, there's sponges in the older sunfish that will soak up that water and it'll make the boat heavy. Now, you could dry that out with inspection ports and fans, but that's for another topic on another video. Now, the next thing you could do that's totally for free is sail the sunfish balanced. Okay. What that means is you don't want to be fighting the boat. So for instance, when you're going upwind, and especially light to medium air, you want to be sitting all the way towards the front of your cockpit, and your front leg is touching the front edge of your cockpit. Now that balances the boat a lot better than if you sit in the back of the boat. And as you can see, the people who sit in front of the cockpit, they go faster and they can point higher, and that's because the boat is more balanced. Also, when you sit with your butt more in forward of the cockpit and your front leg is hitting the cockpit, you get the transom out of the water and it reduces drag. And when you reduce drag, you sail a little bit faster, and sailing faster in a sailboat, you might not notice a huge difference, but it is a lot more fun. And if you're sailing with other people, you could keep up with them or even go faster than them. The next item that is totally free is trim your sails properly. A lot of times when people are sailing upwind, downwind, or even on a reach, they sail their sails too tight or too loose where they're luffing and the sails are shaking. Now, when you sail them properly, the air flows evenly on both sides of the sail and they go faster. However, how do you know that the air is flowing equally on both sides of the sails? And that is, use telltales on your sails. It's the green ones now, so that means I'm not, I'll head up a little bit. Now they're going down, I still get head up a little bit. You can buy telltales at the store or online, but if you have some yarn laying around and maybe some tape, especially if it's cloth tape, you could cut out little circles about the size of a quarter and then about an 8 or a 10-inch piece of yarn, and you could stick them to the sail and they'll act as wind indicators or telltales, and they'll show you how the wind is flowing over the sails. I made a video in the past on how to read the telltales, and I'll leave a link down in the description below so you can check that video out after you're done watching this. So if you raid your spouse's knitting box or go to your mom's house and get some yarn, you could make these telltales for free. You want to use cloth tape and it'll just blend in with the sail. Now, if you don't have someone who has yarn at home, I went to the local arts and crafts store and went straight to the clearance section. I got this big old thing of yarn for like $1 or $2. So I have all these telltales, and so $1, that's pretty much free. Now, the next thing you can do to make your boat much better is to just wash the boat and wash the bottom especially. You don't need any special expensive boat wash that you get at West Marine. You could just get something from your dishwashing soap like Dove or Palmolive, put it in a bucket and wash the boat. You could even use that sponge that you're going to keep your water out and wash the bottom of your boat, because a clean bottom is a fast bottom, especially on a sailboat. And if you get any sap on it or road debris or dirt, it makes your boat sluggish and slower, and it just doesn't look as nice. So That will improve your sunfish sailing a lot. Now, a lot of these things are common sense. So if you like these common sense things and a little bit more details, watch until the end of the video. Don't forget to smash that like button. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section down below. I read all the comments. And the next thing is adjust that gooseneck for the proper conditions. Now this gooseneck here is about 20 inches from the front. And 20 inches is really good for really high winds. For me specifically, probably in the upper teens to the low 20s, I'll push it back maybe to 18 to 19 inches. But in the light air that we're sailing here, I would love the gooseneck to be about 14 or 15 inches. What you could do is you could take the screwdriver or a wrench or whatever loosens that little bolt that holds that gooseneck, loosen it up and push the boom to the appropriate distance from the front part of the metal, which for most cases you could start about 14 to 16 inches for most light to medium air. As here it's 20 inches, and that puts the boat out of balance and it doesn't give you a lot of power in the boat. So you can see here that I'm struggling to keep up with the fleet. Now, even if you don't race, having a good performance boat is really important. For instance, would you rather drive a 1969 Ford Mustang or a Mustang II? Yeah, I thought so. Think about it. Even though you don't race, you still want something with good performance. Now, back in the old days where they didn't have any quick releases, they used to bring tools out onto the water and they would adjust their bolts and goosenecks on the water. But now with the advent of quick release gooseneck adjusters, you could easily just flip the handle, move your gooseneck within seconds and put it back down. I'll leave a link down in the description on how to get one. Now, the next free thing that you probably don't really realize that can improve your boat is to move your halyard into a position which lowers your boom. Now, if your boom is 2 or 3 feet up in the air, that's a little bit too high for decent performance. In light air and heavy air, it's the higher the boom, the boat's a little bit more squirrely and harder to handle. Now, when you lower the boom, it lowers the center of effort, it makes the boat easier to handle, and it makes it a little bit faster. Now, how low can you get this boom? Now, if you're racing and you are able to get underneath the boom and you have a window, which is key because if you have a window, you could see through the sail. You could lower that halyard all the way to 106 to 107 inches from the bottom of the upper spar at the metal. And that will lower your boom a few inches off the deck. For most people who are watching this video, you're probably not into racing or you want the boom a little bit higher. That's okay. Then you could put the halyard maybe about 100 inches, which will bring the boom up maybe a foot off the deck. And as long as you could get underneath the boom while you're tacking and jibing, then that's good. But try to get it as low as possible that it helps you sail and it'll help you sail better and in more control. Moving a knot is totally free. Now, this sail that I was sailing has the knots on the ends, on the clew and the tack and the head really tight. So, and the older sail has a flatter cut than the newer North sails or the Laser Performance sails. The newer racing sails are more bellied and gives more horsepower. Now, with the older sails specifically, the sails are cut more flatter, so you don't want to tighten the ends out really tight because it'll make the sail that much flatter, and it also will give some funky creases to it so the wind and the air can't flow through them as easy. You want to loosen up the clew, which is the back of the boom. You want to loosen up the head a little bit so you can get a little bit of scalloping in the sail. Now, when you have scallops in the sail, not big scallops, not this big, maybe this big, you get more power because you belly out the sail a little bit. You don't want something really belly like a balloon, like a spinnaker. You want it so it's like an airplane wing. Now, a good rule of thumb is on the luff, which is the front part of the sail. If you could pinch maybe a 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch, like that old Special K commercial, pinch an inch, but don't pinch an inch, that's too much. So pinch about a 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, that's pretty good. And then you get your luff tension is pretty good. Now on the foot, you can get nice, smooth, small scallops, same thing. Now you can set your sail that way. Now, if you want full adjustability, I made a video showing you how to put an Outhaul and a Cunningham on your sail and I'll leave a description down in the bottom. You have unlimited adjustments on your outhaul and your luff. Now, another free way to get a better sunfish experience is when you're sailing downwind, especially dead downwind, let your sail out. Let the sail out about 90 degrees from the center line of the boat. Like if this is like 10 degrees or 15 degrees, 90 degrees will be like this, center line from the boat. And that might let you go faster. If you're going dead downwind, let it about 90 degrees, 85, 95, about there, and you will go faster. A lot of times when I see other people sail, they don't let their sail out a lot, and they're not used to sailing dead downwind most of the time. Most of the time, people in sunfish like to reach around, and they're just going by feel, and they go fast, and that's a lot of fun. But sometimes you have to go dead downwind depending on where you want to go. Now, another thing you can do is lift up your dagger board maybe about that much to about that much, which is basically 8 inches to maybe 15, 20 inches. And experiment with that. When you lift up the dagger board, the boat gets a little bit less drag, a little bit less stable. However, you go a lot faster. Now, another thing you could do, along with letting your sail out, lifting your dagger board, is leaning out on the opposite side of the sail going dead downwind. That's calling leaning to weather, because the wind is coming over one side. If you lean into the wind, your sail will go up. It'll make the center of effort of the sail over the center line of the boat, which makes it more efficient. The sail's a little bit higher off the water, which might grab a little bit more air. And also, when you lean to weather, it takes the other side of the hull out of the water and it reduces drag. So that combination of all those things will make your boat a lot better performing sailboat downwind. Now, just as a note, when you first start doing this, it will become unstable and it's not something that you're used to doing. However, it is actually a lot of fun because you're kind to go a little bit faster. The boat's a little bit less stable, but when you're right about the capsize and you need practice so you don't capsize, you're actually going really fast, because right before you capsize, that's when you're going your fastest. So you want to ride that edge, but always do it safely. Wear your PFD. Don't do it when it's too cold, and make sure people are around. And make sure you can right your boat. That's something you do to increase the performance of your boat. Now, one last thing I want to talk about, and this is not really free, but I made a video where I had the guest on my video. He made his own tiller extension and he used an inexpensive tiller universal. It was virtually free in his situation. However, what I'm saying is you want to get a longer tiller extension from the old wooden stock ones, and you want to put a universal on that tiller extension. What that does, it lets you have more movement in the boat, in the cockpit, from forward to back, leaning out to windward, and it's a lot easier to tack because your hands could be anywhere you want when you're holding that tiller. Now, when you're using the stock tiller with the wood, with the single bolt, that single bolt only goes one direction, left to right. And that means you have to hold your tiller a couple of inches off the deck. And so when you're trying to move around, your hands can't go up here. Also, with the shorter tiller, you can't go further forward, so you're actually forced to go further back. And when you're forced to go further back, then it's going against everything I said in this video, and then you're dragging your transom, you're going slower, you don't sail as well, and now your boat is, again, not as good performing. So look into getting a new tiller extension and a universal tiller joint. It'll make your sailing a lot more fun. Now, if you want to learn more about sailing better, check out this video right here. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you on the water.